One of the largest gym chains in the country has roughly 18 million members spread across a little over 2,500 locations, something like 7,200 members per gym on average. Most of those gyms are built to legally hold somewhere between 200 and 350 people at once. If every member who paid for a membership actually decided to show up on the same day, the overwhelming majority of them would have nowhere to stand. So why would a business built to physically hold 300 people ever sell memberships to 7,200? Here's what's actually happening. It looks like a card you tap to get in the door. It is actually the only proof this business has ever needed. Not that you worked out, just that you paid. Before the mechanism, the detail that explains almost everything else in this video, and it isn't a Reddit thread. It's an actual peer-reviewed study. Two economists, Stefano Della Vigna and Ulrika Malmendier, got hold of 3 years of real attendance and billing records from 3 American health clubs. 7,752 members, tracked visit by visit. What they found didn't match how people are supposed to behave on paper. Members who chose a flat monthly fee of over $70 attended, on average, just 4.3 times a month. That works out to more than $17 per visit, even though the same clubs offered a 10-visit pass at $10 a visit. On average, these members left about $600 a year in savings on the table every year by choosing the option that cost them more for exercising less. And it gets stranger. Members who chose the monthly contract, the one that let them cancel anytime, stayed enrolled 17% longer than members who committed to a full year upfront, despite paying a higher rate every single month for that flexibility. People weren't choosing badly by accident. They were choosing based on who they believe they'd become, not who their own attendance records said they actually were. Second detail, and this is where the capacity math from the open actually resolves. Reporters modeled this out directly using real numbers from one major low-cost chain. For every member to work out even once a week, each gym would need an average of 64 people exercising at all times, across every hour it's open. For members to hit a more typical goal, 4 times a week, each location would need to average 257 people working out simultaneously, more than the maximum legal occupancy of some of these buildings. One journalist covering the industry put the obvious conclusion plainly. If everyone who had a membership actually showed up at once, the gym floor would look like Thunderdome. The business isn't failing to plan for full attendance. It's actively built around the assumption that it will never happen. So here's how the money actually moves, starting with who the gym is trying to sign up in the first place. Low-cost chains built around a $10 to $20 monthly rate market themselves explicitly around being unintimidating. Minimal equipment on display, weight rooms tucked toward the back, a branding built around comfort rather than performance. That's not just inclusive marketing. It's targeting a very specific type of customer, someone who has not historically been a regular gym goer and, statistically, is unlikely to become one just because they signed a form. Industry estimates suggest somewhere around 2/3 of all gym memberships go essentially unused. That's not a failure of the sales process. Given the capacity math from the last section, is the sales process working exactly as intended? One low-cost chain took this even further and turned it into an actual piece of hardware. Planet Fitness installs what it calls a lunk alarm in many locations, a literal siren the staff can trigger if a member grunts too loudly while lifting, drops a weight, or otherwise acts like the kind of serious lifter the brand has decided doesn't fit its judgment-free zone. On its face, this reads as a quirky branding gimmick. Looked at through the capacity math from the last section, it's something closer to active filtering, a mechanism that makes the gym mildly unpleasant for exactly the demographic most likely to actually show up 4 times a week and use the equipment hard. A gym that wanted maximum attendance would never install an alarm that punishes enthusiasm. A gym that needs most of its members to not come back regularly has every reason to. This is where the card from the disguise line comes back in. Every time you tap in, that swipe gets logged, and it's the exact same kind of record Della Vigna and Malmendier used to build their entire study. The gym doesn't need to know how hard you worked out, whether you finished your set, or whether you left after 5 minutes on a treadmill. It only needs the tap because the tap is the only data point that actually matters to the business model. proof of payment, once a month, whether or not the workout behind it ever happened. Quick one before we keep going. Tell me how many months or years you paid for a gym membership you barely used, and roughly what you think the total came out to. I want the real number. I have a feeling some of you are about to do some genuinely upsetting math in the comments. Here's where this stops being a personal failure of willpower and starts looking like something closer to a system built with an exit designed to fail. In August 2025, the Federal Trade Commission sued Fitness International, the parent company of LA Fitness, along with a Sport of Fitness, City Sports Club, and Club Studio, more than 600 locations and 3.7 million members nationwide, alleging the company made cancellation exceedingly difficult, in the FTC's own words, resulting in hundreds of millions of dollars in unwanted recurring charges. According to the complaint, canceling required either an in-person visit or a mailed notice. No phone, no email. To even print the required cancellation form online, members needed to log in using their original sign-up email, a membership key tag number, and the first 5 digits of a credit card, credentials most people simply don't have memorized months or years after signing up. The FTC's own director summed it up bluntly. This is a scenario too many Americans have already lived through, a membership that seems impossible to leave. This isn't an isolated complaint pattern. It's the same shape we've seen elsewhere on this channel. Easy to start, engineered to be hard to stop. Except this time, it's a federal regulator making the case in court, not just a comment section. Back to the question from the top. Why sell 7,200 memberships to a room built for 300 people? Because 2 economists already answered it. In a peer-reviewed paper, using exactly the swipe data this video keeps coming back to. Economists call what Della Vigna and Malmindier documented a form of time-inconsistent preference. In plain language, paying today for the version of yourself you're confident will show up tomorrow, even when your own attendance record says otherwise. The swipe at the door was never proof you worked out. It was proof you paid, logged by a business that modeled its entire footprint around the gap between the two. Zoom out, and the LA Fitness case isn't an outlier. It's one entry in a growing pattern. The FTC's click-to-cancel rule, which would have required every subscription business to make canceling exactly as easy as signing up, was approved and then blocked by a federal appeals court just days before it was set to take effect in 2025 on procedural grounds rather than on the substance of the rule itself. Regulators have pursued the same underlying complaint, easy in, hard out, against companies well outside the fitness industry entirely, from streaming platforms to major online retailers, suggesting this isn't really a gym problem. It's a broader business model problem that gyms happen to run with unusual precision, because unlike most subscriptions, a gym membership sells you on a version of your future behavior that's uniquely easy to believe in on January 1st and uniquely easy to abandon by February. To be fair to the industry, though, the picture isn't entirely one-sided. The low-cost model genuinely does make fitness financially accessible to people who'd otherwise be priced out of a traditional health club altogether, and the mismatch between how often people intend to exercise and how often they actually do isn't something the fitness industry invented. It's a well-documented, extremely human pattern that shows up in gym attendance, in New Year's resolutions, and in used streaming subscriptions, in basically every domain where future you is asked to make a promise present you has to keep. The roughly 1/3 of members who do show up regularly get real, tangible value for what they're paying. The business model isn't purely predatory. It's built, quite precisely, on a well-known and completely ordinary flaw in how people plan for their own future selves. It's just that some operators have chosen to make leaving as hard as legally possible once that flaw plays out in their favor. None of this stays the same, though, because the entire fitness industry is currently facing the strangest threat it has ever had to plan around, and the obvious prediction about what it'll do to gyms turns out to be wrong. GLP-1 weight loss drugs, Ozempic, Wegovy, and the rest of that family have gone from a niche diabetes treatment to something roughly 1 in 8 American adults now takes, according to Gallup, more than double the rate from just over a year earlier. The national obesity rate has already dropped from close to 40% in 2022 to 37% in 2025, and analysts at JP Morgan project that by 2030, something like 9% of the entire U.S. population, 30 million people, will be on one of these drugs. On paper, that should be catastrophic for an industry built around helping people lose weight through exercise. It already has been for at least one major competitor. Weight Watchers filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy after a 24% drop in subscribers, a direct, documented casualty of people choosing a prescription over a program. Here's the part almost nobody predicts correctly. One industry report from Harrison Company projects the gym, studio, and fitness club market will actually grow by roughly 20%, about $6.8 billion, specifically because of GLP-1 adoption, not despite it. The reason is a side effect built into the drugs themselves, significant muscle loss alongside the fat loss, which means the exact population shrinking their appetite with a weekly injection is now being told by doctors and trainers alike that they need strength training more than ever, or they'll simply lose muscle mass along with the weight. The threat and the opportunity are sitting inside the same molecule. The industry is already repositioning around exactly this. 24-Hour Fitness, which itself filed for bankruptcy back in 2020, was repurchased in January 2026 by its original founder, who's now adding cold plunges and saunas to locations, chasing the same recovery and wellness positioning already showing up at Planet Fitness. Some higher-end gyms have started advertising what they call Ozempic microdosing programs bundled directly into premium memberships, pairing the drug with supervised strength training so members don't lose the muscle the injection takes with the fat. The industry has a name for where this is heading: the gym as a clinic model, where fitness professionals stop being simply weight loss coaches and start partnering directly with prescribers. Which brings the story back to exactly where it started. The swipe at the door still doesn't measure your effort. It still only proves you paid. What's changing is who the highest value swipe belongs to. Increasingly, someone paying $200 a month for a drug and a gym membership together, being sold the second as insurance against the side effect of the first. The business model that profits from people not showing up has simply found a new, wealthier version of the customer who might. So if you're the one about to sign something at the front desk, here's how you actually win. 1. Before committing to a flat monthly rate, do the Delavigna math yourself. Honestly estimate how many times a month you'll realistically go, multiply by what a day pass or class pack would cost per visit, and compare it directly to the monthly fee. If the honest number comes out lower than the membership is the worst deal, no matter how motivated you feel signing up in January. 2. Before you hand over a card, specifically check how you'd cancel. If the only options are an in-person visit or mailing a letter, you now know exactly which federal complaint that pattern matches. 3. If you do decide to quit, don't just stop going. Actually cancel the same week you stop, in writing if you can, because the gap between your last real visit and the day you finally get around to canceling is not a coincidence the industry has any incentive to shorten for you. So the next time you tap that card at the front desk on your way in, or more likely, the next time you don't, remember what that swipe was actually built to measure. Not your effort, not your results, just whether the charge went through. If this changed how you'll look at that membership form, a like and a subscribe genuinely helps this channel grow. And if you want to see the same trick playing out somewhere else entirely, the Money and Business playlist on this channel is a good place to look.